Okay, we're here with Hunter Scarborough, who's at the Republican National Convention and going next week to the Democratic National Convention to talk about your new app, which is Tinder for voting, or Tinder for politics.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Thank you for having me, Joel. I'm happy to be here. So Voter, V-O-T-E-R, it's basically Tinder for politics. Like you said, you answer a handful of questions based on your political beliefs. We can show you which candidates support the same issues that you do, and most importantly, have a track record to back that up. So we look at their entire voting history. If they've had a principled, long-time stance on an issue, you're going to match a lot higher with them than someone that may have waffled or flip-flopped and doesn't have as strong of a correlation. So we really look at their we look to see if their actions match up with what they say.
Now, are you going to meet people who share the same views through this app, or are you going to meet people you want to argue with?
So there's a component of that. You can match with your friends. It's opt-in, meaning you only match with your friends and they only see your views if you accept that. You have to say, yes, I want to share my views. We don't want to start arguments. So everything is private until you say it's not. But it definitely can be a fun conversation starter, and we're going to be doing a little bit more with that to help people kind of connect with similar views or even differing views to see if they can change someone's mind.
I have to say, I'm really disappointed by that. I thought we were going to have an app that allows people to hate each other. You know, Tinder creates love, and Voter creates hate. That would have been kind of cool. I mean,
ooh, the narrative around Tinder has been maybe mostly love, a little bit of no, we're basically trying to inform people quickly. I think everyone should have the ability to vote confidently. There's so many information sources, so many conflicting places to get information. I didn't personally want to vote on a soundbite from a news anchor or a soundbite from my uncle at the dinner table. I really wanted to know who these candidates are. In the 21st century, that information can and should be accessible, so that's what we're doing.
So where did you come up with the idea for the app?
It was actually, I worked in advertising previously. I'm a graphic designer. I was working very long hours, and when an election rolled around, I didn't have time to do my own personal research, which is very frustrating because, again, I didn't want to vote on just these little tidbits. So I figured there had to be a way to solve that problem. I remember I was sitting at lunch one day, and one of my friends had been very aggressive about getting me to try OkCupid, which you might be familiar with. And so I went through the little quiz that they had, and thought, this makes complete sense for politics. This can work so well for politics. I quickly found there are a few things that kind of are similar or have that idea. For me, though, they missed the mark of what I wanted it to be. They were they felt like a high school quiz or a high school test. They weren't fun. They weren't sort of engaging enough. And they also were just based on personal research of a few guys. I didn't want to just trust a handful of people to do the research. I wanted to know how a candidate voted, who funds their campaign. I wanted all this stuff, and I wanted it really quickly, and so that's why we started building it.
Now, obviously, you're getting a lot of data. You're integrating a lot of data.
Right.
Certainly, that's something you can sell to campaigns. Is that part of your business model as well, selling data?
So, not at the moment, but in the future, potentially. We want to be very careful about that, obviously. We never want to be able to say, Joel feels this way about these issues. We want to keep that data private for you. However, if we can say, a male in this geographic area of this age demographic feels this way about that issues, it's not personal to you, but it's extremely valuable information. So we've gotten a lot of interest. We've actually turned down a handful of deals at this point because we wanted to really get into that when we're ready to do it right. We're almost to that point, so we're excited to make that happen.
Do you think you can launch before November? Will you be able to launch in time for this election?
You know what I mean? I should have cleared this up before we got on the interview here. Actually, we're already launched. So we launched about 9 months ago, last September. We launched on iPhone. We're launching on Android on July 26th, so about 6 days from today. We've got #1 up and coming app in Newsweek. It's been quite a big year for us.
That's very encouraging to me because I'm sure your app will help me find the Pokemon. Does Voter help you find the Pokemon and register them to vote?
Hey,
you guys are coming soon. I've spent far too much of my free time in the past few weeks catching Pokemon, but what can I say? I grew up on it.
Can Pokemon register to vote? That's all I really care about.
As a Democrat, sure, yeah.
Oh my God. The premise behind Pokemon, if we actually take a second to think about it, the premise behind Pokemon is so odd. You're catching these little creatures and then fighting them against each other. It seems very strange, right? No one talks about that. I'm surprised that PETA hasn't come out and had some big campaign. But,
okay, so let me ask you
anyways,
this.
back to the app. Yeah.
Back to the app. So obviously it's useful during election times. What uses does it have between elections when you're not necessarily so engaged?
It's a great question, and our goal is to actually go beyond these big election cycles. we want to keep people engaged and informed beyond just the big presidential elections, even the Senate elections, right? There's legislation that's going through your state legislature all the time. It's very relevant to you and impacts your life directly. Now, I don't expect you to go out and find that out. I don't expect you to have the time or the patience to do that, because I don't. But what we want to do is bridge that gap, so you get a notification on your phone, boom, you know, for example, a year back, California, there was an anti-ride sharing bill. It would have made it very difficult for Lyft and for Uber to operate. That affects everyone, especially our main demographic, millennials, very, very heavily, right? Most people didn't know about it. We want to bridge that gap. So keeping you engaged, keeping you informed, local elections, legislation that's relevant to you, not demanding of your time, very easy.
The social component to it, I mean, you said you can choose to share information with other people or not. Are people going to meet people with similar points of view if they're nearby? Is it working the way that Tinder does?
So that is not really a component yet, but I'd certainly like it to be. And again, it's all opt-in because, as I said, political views can, divide or unite, but
we're looking to divide. We like yes, division is easier. In fact, what if I want to just have an argument with someone? It's like an old Monty Python sketch. If you want to have a 5-minute argument, can you swipe? Swiping is so lame. Can you punch left? Can you punch right?
I'm going to say that you don't need an app to have a 5-minute Monty Python argument with someone. I'm sure you can find the right place to find those. But like I said, we're going to be facilitating more kind of real-life interaction based on political views very soon. Okay. Ideally, before the November election, because we want to have as big of an impact as possible during sort of prime time, which is right now.
Let me ask you one more question. Then I think you have Rock the Vote. Are you working with Rock the Vote?
Oh, we did. So, as we call ourselves Tinder for Politics, right?
Okay.
We had the good fortune of coming across the CEO of Tinder's desk. With a lot of the press that we got. They saw Tinder for Politics. We weren't sure if they would like it or not. They liked it quite a bit. They ended up reaching out to us. We did a partnership with them and Rock the Vote a few months back. Very cool. We did this called Swipe the Vote. Helped about 2 million young voters find their candidate. The thing that he's getting at is that, so I'm a fan of Rock the Vote in most cases. I think that their cause is relatively just. I just think what they're doing is kind of only half of the equation, and when it's only half, it's very dangerous, because what they're advocating for is go vote, vote or die, whatever the new thing is, right? Voting without informing yourself first is kind of an odd message to send. So when I make a lot of pitches to investors, right, running a startup, one of the first things out of my mouth is usually the problems that we're solving. And I say uninformed voters don't vote, or worse, they do. Because an uninformed vote cancels out someone's vote that really took the time to know what they're talking about and vote on the issues. That's what we're trying to solve. We're trying to give everyone a quick way, anywhere from 5 minutes or less to really know these candidates support your whole belief system and they have a voting record that stands for that.
Let me ask you one more question. Actually, I have 2 more questions. First of all, I can't believe the name voter wasn't taken somehow.
Yeah. So I did my own research on that. I was looking to see if it was taken. I found, blah, 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 voter, or voter, blah, blah, blah. Everything you can imagine around the word, but not just the word itself. I asked my, advisors, my investors, they all said, don't spend the money, don't go for it. You definitely missed it. It definitely is out there. I took a chance on it, and flying in the face of everything that they said. And we ended up getting it, so that was quite large. We had
for like $2.99 on GoDaddy or something? It was sort of sitting out there?
No, it's a little bit more expensive than that. But yeah, we have the 5-letter word, registered trademark, for all electronic media, which is quite a feat.
So this is the other question I have, security. Suppose I don't want young people to vote. How can I stop them from voting using your app?
Using the app?
Remember, you had a Republican convention here, so we're apparently interested in voter suppression. So
well, you know what I found? If I'm talking to a vehement conservative or a vehement liberal, there's this interesting bias that occurs on both sides, or a libertarian, at whatever end of the spectrum they're on. If I say to a strong Democrat, if I pitch them the app, they're gonna say to me, "This is fantastic. If people were informed, they would no doubt vote Democratic."
Right.
Now, if I talk to a strong conservative, I'm gonna get the exact same thing. If people were informed, of course they would vote conservative. So it's this really interesting kind of selection bias that occurs. People automatically, and there's probably some truth to it. Each side, if they truly believe in their cause, they're naturally going to think that someone else who's informed is going to come to that conclusion as well. stopping young voters from voting using the app.
Well, listen, I don't believe in voter suppression, but I do believe in voter misinformation. How can I push misinformation to more of your clients? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
you're going to have to go to your own Facebook feed.
My Facebook feed's
Join
full
the
of
boards on
misinformation,
there.
but don't tell my family I said that. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us, and it's going to be a fun article. And I got to get together with you in Santa Monica.